Hi, my relatives. Joining us on today's podcast is my good friend, Nolan Rudkowsky. Nolan is a Squamish leader, cultural dancer, very hard worker, and lover of sports. And we talk a lot of stories about experiencing these lands that are colonially known as Vancouver today. But I really left with an appreciation for the local land that this podcast is filmed on and that I grew up experiencing as well too. I really enjoyed filming this. Nolan, if you're listening to this, Skszkman, I'm so grateful for you and the contribution that you had to the Our Storytellers podcast. So I'm super grateful. I'm grateful for every one of you that are listening right now as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the podcast. Please welcome Nolan Rudkowsky.
Hello, my relatives. How are you? Here at Our Storytellers, we care about your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical well-being, which is why we want to inform you that this podcast discusses topics that may cause trauma to listeners and viewers. These subjects include mentions of Indian residential schools, assimilation, ongoing harm, colonial impacts, and much more. Our Storytellers recognizes the need to minimize risks associated with traumatic subject matter. The Hope for Wellness helpline offers immediate help to all Indigenous people across Canada. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to offer immediate support and crisis intervention. Services are available in English and French, and in Nehiyaw, Anishinaabe and Inuktitut upon request. If you or someone you know are experiencing any harm, no matter how big or small it's perceived to be, you can call the toll-free helpline at 1-855-242-3310 or connect to the online chat at www.hopeforwellness.ca. Skszkman, I'm grateful for you. Your ancestors are always with you. All my relations, Riel.
The head, get your hips up, and then at least you're on a shoulder.
Yeah.
And then you can work from there. You have to make them work, right?
Yeah.
And then controlling them.
Yeah.
Controlling their posture, right?
Control is everything.
Yeah.
You can sub anybody if you can control them.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. How did your interview go the other day?
Good, dude. Yeah, so I just accepted the job today, actually. So I start on 26th, so I have all next week off to fuck around, and then I'm corporate, baby. Yeah, corporate.
You're a counselor.
Yeah, no, yes and no. Like, I'll be doing Indigenous relations. I think it's Indigenous relations coordinator. Here, one sec.
Who?
With wood fiber, man.
Who's wood fiber?
WLNG, liquid natural gas.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're a little pipeline that's going through Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so they're
That sounds like an intense job, to be honest.
Yeah, so the job scope is definitely interesting. I can confidently say that I have the job now today.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous being like, yeah, I don't know if I should air it or not, but I just got off the phone and verbally accepted the position. And I knew it was something. They've been trying to get me to work for them since like the powwow over here. So I met Selena. Actually, funny, I met Selena. She's the talent recruit.
At the powwow?
So I did a performance for them.
Yeah.
At the convention center.
Okay.
So it was like me, Soraya, and Lacey. And I had like all my Coast Salish stuff on, and they were really impressed. I was there. They did like a whole day of, what do you call it? Oh my God, I'm blanking right now. We did like a practice day on Saturday.
Okay.
So we're there all
rehearsal.
Rehearsal, there we go.
Yeah.
So we were there all day Saturday, and then Sunday it was like game day, like show up, get in the zone, and then like crushed it. I did like the opening and the closing for them.
Yeah.
And then she's like, you seem really talented and you know how to conduct yourself and you know how to speak really well. Like, we'd love to have you on the team. And she was just asking questions.
Wow. That's sick.
Yeah, so the job scope is Indigenous Relations Coordinator. Indigenous Relations Specialist. Coordinator, yeah.
Okay, so what are you going to be doing?
So I'll be doing like cultural work for them. So making sure there's 29 rules that the nation has come to agreement with that they have to follow by. So being really strict on those 29 rules, I guess. And then with my previous environmental experience that I have, they're going to have me probably overlook the environmental departments that are going to be coming through from the nation.
Yeah.
And then also overlooking the construction work as well while I'm there, I'm guessing. So she said it's a dynamic role.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's me, Amar, and Todd.
So when do you
start? 3 of us, 26th. And it's a 1-year contract, so
Okay.
I was like, yeah, I may as well go for it if it's 1 year, and then it's decent pay. I'm not going to disclose that, but definitely get me out of poverty for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
That's the thing that I've been struggling with the most being down here, especially being in trades, right? Trades is definitely like a crooked business, I guess you could say, just the way it's structured, right? It's like your boss is always going to take more from you if you don't own the company. So, like, I moved down here, and I got screwed around at both jobs that I was doing. So, I was doing carpentry. I was doing concrete forming. And then it was super whack. So, like, my buddy, he works for BOSA, which is, like, a union company.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, we'll get you a job. I told him, I was like, all right, dude. Like, I'm going to be leaving a job in Squamish where, like, I'm more than comfortable being here. I was making, like, $30+ bucks.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll be leaving. I hope you guys can at least be close to match it. Like, I'll take a pay cut, but I'm not gonna, like, as long as it's no more than a couple bucks.
Yeah.
He's like, don't worry, we'll take care of you, man. I like talked to Rob, right? And like Rob's like whoever the frick he is. He's like hiring guy, HR department for them. And I was like, what's like the going rate for carpenters? Because I have like 1 year under my belt of experience. I'd be going for my 2nd year. And I told him that I was, at the time, I wanted to go to BCIT.
Yeah.
And he was like, don't worry, like journeyman. He's like, hey, carpenter wage, $35. I was like, sweet, perfect. Like, that's pretty close to what I'm making now. So like, I'm not going to say no. Get down here. I like move all my stuff down here. Start work on like the Wednesday or whatever, because I moved Sunday and Monday, and I just said I need a couple days to settle in, but I can start working Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Work like freaking 11 days straight, like 11 days straight, like probably 7 of those days 10-hour days, and then working both Saturdays. So I had like 1 day off in between the 2 weeks. I get my first paycheck, and I'm like so hyped up. I'm like, nice overtime hours, like time and a half, like probably 11 hours of time and a half plus whatever. I'm like, I'm gonna be good. I like check my bank account. It's like $1,500, dude. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, how does this work? I'm like, are you serious? I was like, that's like 70 hours of freaking work that I just put in. Yeah. Like, and it's crappy work too. It's just not fun. Like, I'm not going to knock anyone that does it, but it's not enjoyable, right? Yeah. And I, like, did all the math, and it's, like, $18 it worked out to be. And I was like, what? And I went straight to Lima, who was, like, the foreman. Like, dude, like, what's going on? Like, why are you guys paying me so low? Like, he's like, oh, well, you're a first year. You have no experience, so we're not going to pay you that well here. He's like, you're going to start at $18.20. And he's like, and with your vacation benefits, it'll be $19. I'm like, all right, awesome, sounds good, thank you. Like, walk away. I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? Like, I'm wasting my time. Like, walk back up. I do another hour and a half. This is like right after lunch. I do like another hour and a half, and I'm just like, Chris, the guy that I was working with, he's like, hey, cut this piece of plywood, and I'm just gonna use the can. I'll be right back. And I was like, yes, sir. Like, as soon as he leaves, I grab my level, and I just, like, walk off site, grab the rest of my stuff, and I'm like, I'm not coming back here, dude. Like, I know I can go find other stuff to do with my life and be more productive with my time. Yeah. Rather than being at site at 6 a.m. every day and staying until, like, 5. Yeah. I was like, I can go do other stuff. Yeah. And know that I can probably make more money than grind out my few years in trades with these guys.
Dude, yeah, you could, like, absolutely. You have so many different options for you out there. Yeah. Didn't need that.
So then I was doing a bit of framing for a bit, and then funny enough, one of my friends, Shay, she calls me. It's like after work. I just get home. I'm like, cuz the house I was framing was like on Ontario Street in Mount Pleasant, like just off East Broadway, or kind of in between West and East Broadway. So it took me like 10 minutes to bike there from where I live. And I was like, all right. I like just got home. It's like 5. She calls me. She's like, hey, like, we have an extra ticket to go to the Dice and Ice event at the Canucks for the Canucks Gala. Like, she's like, the Canucks Gala, you got to come. She knows I'm a big Nucks fan. Like, I'm like, She's like, what are you doing? Are you have any plans for the night? I was like, oh, I was just thinking about going to the gym and then getting my food and shit ready for the day tomorrow. Then she's like, come. I'm like, all right, sure. She's like, you have to dress up. So I like throw on a suit, get myself all cleaned up, head down to the freaking Fairmont. That's where they're staying. I'm like, where am I going? You're like, yeah, Fairmont. Like, and I'm like, all right, sure. So I'm just like, whatever, I'll go with it. I was like, I just wanted to meet Quinn, and Thatcher and Petey and Brock, right? Yeah. And then I like go there. Go there, and Selena's there, the lady who was wanting to hire me since like last year. Yeah. And she's like, so like, what are you doing now? And I'm like, oh, framing, doing trades, freaking, nose on the grindstone. She's like, well, still have a position open for you if you want to, take it. So I'm like, well, let's talk more, So then like end up like freaking not going to work the next day and like partied at the Roxy all night and stayed at the gala for the evening. If I didn't go, then I probably wouldn't have gotten this job that I just accepted.
Well, it was meant to be then.
Yeah, dude. So I was like, all right, I'll just like trust my intuition some more and do the things that I want to do instead of.
Did you meet Petey, Hoggy?
Yeah, dude. Bessie? So I met Phil, I met Thatcher, I met Petey, Brock, Timothy, which I found out he actually goes by Jerry Terry, JT. I met Quinn. I talked to Quinn. It's funny because I walked up to Quinn and he like the night before they had a game and I was watching and he was like doing this with his shoulder after he took a hit and I walked up to him. Yeah. I wasn't trying to fanboy too hard. I was just being like,
yeah. How do you balance that?
I just walk up to them and talk to them like normal dudes. Yeah. Like how we're talking now. And I just walked up to Quinn and I was like, hey man, I hope your shoulder's feeling better today. Yeah. He like looks at me. He's like, thanks, cuz. And I was like, sick. I was like, that just made my fucking night. Yeah. Dude. Like, awesome. And I'll show you some photos after.
Yeah, man.
But
yeah, man, let's jump in. Let's
do it, bro.
I just want to open up today's podcast, man, and thank you for being here. I want to offer you this protocol. Just open up those lines of communication, open up those relationships between your family and mine, and really set it going. And I'll pass this over to you, and no worries. And introduce yourself in any way that
sure
in your way.
I'll speak some Squamish. So Sgsmål, no chop men wahath, hasalano tananoch, quishamen, chaalian quishamen, Squamish oath, chmo chomeo, amanox ten Squalwin, chenquementomi. So what I just said in my Squamish language was, good day, everybody. I'm grateful to be here today. I'm here to speak to you since I said no chop. It means individual. So usually I say choch, which means people, but individually we say chop. So I'm here to speak to you. My ancestral names are Hasalano Tananoch, and then the other one is Chaalian. I am Squamish. I grew up on the village of Sgsmål in Squamish. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to speak to you today.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming. How did you tell your story, man? How did you grow up?
So I grew up in Squamish, in the Squamish Valley, on a little reserve called the Sgsmål Reserve, which is along the river, in Eagle Run. So funny enough, it was just my family's property. So I grew up away from kind of like a traditional res life. We were the only natives that lived there. Because it was like there's a trailer park, there's a few others on the other side that had owned their own land. But so the river had taken away a bunch of the land there when it diverted and they put the dam in Whistler, so it changed its direction. It used to be a bigger reserve, now it's just a little sliver along the dike. But I grew up in Eagle Run in Squamish. I'd say it wasn't like a traditional res life. Like my mom and my dad grew up on like the res up north in like a small town, and my mom grew up on the res as well, but it wasn't like a traditional res house, but it had its own set of issues, definitely. But I grew up on reserve, and I got to grow up with all my cousins in Brackendale just down the road. So it wasn't like we were like isolated or anything, but yeah, we were just by ourselves, if that makes sense.
What's your family like?
My family dynamic is like any native family. It comes with its set of issues. I have two brothers and I have a mom, obviously. So their names are David Barrio and Nick Barrio. My mom had them from a previous relationship. I don't call them my half brothers. Those are my brothers, obviously.
Mhm.
And then my mom's name is Mara Williams. She is originally from down here in North Vancouver. So her mom. So my biological grandma's last name is a Lewis, Norma Lewis, but she was adopted into the Squamish Valley to the Williams family.
Mhm.
So I got to grow up with the Williams in Squamish. And then my dad's from up north, so he was born in Hay River. My grandma is from Fort McPherson on that side,
Okay.
which is like in the Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
So like far, far away in the Northwest Territories. But he grew up in northern BC in a small mining town called Cassiar, which was in Teltan territory. So they say when I go up there, that's who I play hockey with when I go to Whitehorse to play. Yeah, they say I'm adopted Teltan when I go up there. And it's funny because I didn't think anyone would know who I am on my dad's side because, like, my uncle doesn't have kids. I'm, like, my dad's only child. And I go up there and people ask who I am, and I don't think people know who my grandma is, right? Margaret, she went to res school and everything. She had addiction problems and mental health problems. I love her still. I'll never blame her for any of that stuff. I'd probably be fucked up if I went to res school as well. But I sometimes think people don't know who I am, and I go up there and they're like, "You're Rudkowsky."
Yeah.
They don't even call me Nolan. They call me Rudkowsky, dude. It's so weird. And I don't think people know where my last name's from, but I go up there and it's very humbling to know that like people know who I am.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like so far away from where they are.
Yeah.
Growing up here in North Van, Squamish, Squamish culture. So yeah, that's like a gist of it for sure.
Is your last name Ukrainian?
Yeah, so I have mixed heritage. My grandpa, his name was Richard Rudkowsky.
Yeah.
And I believe it was his parents that immigrated here from the USSR after the Cold War. So they are from Alberta. And it's funny because when I was young, we went for a drive and we're like in the middle of the sticks, like in the hills in like north of Edmonton. And I got to see like a bunch of gravestones with my last name on it. I was like, oh crap, like there's like this is like also where I come from as well. So like have some Albertan blood on that side. And then my mom's biological dad was a Greek man, but he didn't have much to do with her upbringing. So it's still something I got to go and learn about.
What was growing up for you like? Like, what was your favorite subject in school or anything like that? Oh,
man, my favorite subject in school, probably, I've always been interested in, like, social studies. Yeah, social studies or, like, any jock that played sports, probably PE as well. Probably the only two classes that I've gotten consistent A's in. But definitely social studies. I've always been really interested in like geography and like where different nations are and just learning about their histories and whether they're war torn or segregated or the history of where their flag comes from and just the different cultures and religions that associate with this stuff. It's always interested in me.
Yeah, man. Who did you look up to growing up?
I mean, there's one man that comes in particular, when it comes to mind anyways. His name, he was a youth worker when I was in middle school, and I got to spend a lot of time with him. And his name was Joshua Watts. He grew up in Squamish. He was like one of my brother's friends, actually. They played rugby together. And then, funny how it works out, me and him ended up becoming closer, right? I got to spend a lot of time with him at the youth center, and I got to learn a lot from him. He was in my dance group for a little bit in his short time when he was like a young adult, finishing his high school years. He worked for my mom. So my mom ran the recreation department, and she hired Josh to be the youth worker, and I got to spend a lot of time with him. So, I got to do the culture, sing songs with him, dance. He's one of like the first people that actually showed me how to like do like lift barbell weights when I was like 14. Him and my older cousins are just like slamming these weights around, and they're like calling me weak and I need to lift more and eat more protein. And so I'm thankful for it because it's like I didn't appreciate it at the time because I was like so weak, and I was like, oh man, like these guys are crazy. They're like squatting like so much and benching so much, and they're like, if you just keep at it, man, you'll be as strong as us one day.
Yeah.
So and I was like, all right, dude. And I wasn't too passionate about it back then. I just wanted to play sports. Like I thought that was enough.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that like you actually had to do training outside. I had an idea, but I didn't think it was that important. So yeah, Josh, for sure. There's a few things that I'd like to that I took away from him, and it would just be his charisma for, regardless of the circumstances that you're in life, just to always be a good person.
Shout out Josh.
Yeah, and just continue the learning, right? Like he's a really good, I'd say, master carver now.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first started to hang out with him and spend more time with him, he was just learning. And so like 10 years later, he has his own studios and he's doing his art galleries. And I keep him on my mind a lot, especially as of late. There's been some stuff that went on with his life. And I hope to cross paths with him soon. I'm supposed to be dancing in the Earl Marriott powwow. And he said he'll put it in his calendar to come watch because he's never watched me powwow dance before. So I hope he can make it over. He lives in the North Island in Port Hardy. So he hasn't lived in Squamish for, I think, almost 10 years. It was like 2016 when he moved. But I got to spend probably like 3 good years of my life just learning and watching how he conducts himself as a man and a person. So shouts out to Josh.
When you say Josh has, you said charisma. What does that mean?
Just his outlook on life. Like he just didn't seem to ever have bad days. And regardless of the circumstances that were presented in front of him or the lack of, he always made sure to go home and have a good night's sleep and not be angry about anything.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. We all need some of that.
Yeah. And it's just, and I think a lot of it, not to tell his story, but a lot of it should do with his upbringing.
Yeah.
He was adopted into the Squamish family. Like, he's actually Nachalnath. Yeah, the foster care system and whatnot. So I think that has a lot to do with him. I can't speak on his behalf, but that's my perspective of what I took away from him for sure.
That's awesome. That's a great lesson. What's a memorable experience from your childhood?
Memorable experience would probably playing sports, man. Like just having the opportunity to be able to play all the sports that I wanted.
Yeah.
Like I've always just been like an active kid since I was like a young boy. My dad tells me that he's like, yeah, even like from like 3 years old, he used to say like, let's go do something, whether it be like go for a run along like the side of the river or go swimming. Or I was always a fish growing up. Like I could swim for days. I still am good at swimming. It's something I should do more, but I was like always swimming, always running around playing tag or soccer or hockey. I'd say most memorable though is probably to go really far back. It's funny how I remember this. I was like 3 years old. My first time ever skating, which was on Alice Lake when it froze over.
Oh, wow.
And I remember my dad was buying himself a new pair of skates, and he's like, all right, we're gonna go get some skates today. We went to the Canadian Tire in Squamish, and I told him that I wanted a pair, and he bought me a pair. And then we went up to Alice Lake. He puts me in these things, and I just stand up and start skating away from him, like no introduction, nothing. I was just watching the people play pond hockey. I skated over there, and laid way for like the next 20 years of my life, dude. Yeah.
Did you play hockey growing up?
Yeah. So I played. I still do play. I didn't play for probably 2 years. Not even right after high school. I played beer league after high school. But yeah, I played 18 years of minor hockey. Well, it's 15, I guess. And then I played beer league when I was 18, 19, and then I took a break during pandemic. Obviously, there wasn't any real recreation sports going on.
Yeah.
And then I got back into it last year, which I'm actually really happy about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first time playing hockey since pandemic would have been, I played a few beer league games in like 2021.
Yeah.
And then go up to a hockey tournament up in Whitehorse, and that was like, it re-sparked that fire.
Oh, yeah.
Like just scoring a couple goals and just, I don't know. It's funny because it's like, I forgot how big a part of like my life that was.
Yeah.
And I just forgot about it. It's weird. And like looking back now, I'm like, dude, like I lived the Canadian dream of like waking up at 5 a.m. and going to hockey practice,
Yeah.
and then going to school and playing road hockey, and then, you know, having a game later that night or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I played a lot of hockey growing up, whether it was like indoor ball hockey, road hockey, ice hockey. I was just hockey fanatic.
Yeah. That's sick, dude.
And lifelong Nucks fan. Go Nucks, baby.
Go Nucks. This is our season.
Yeah, bro.
Lindholm trade? Yay.
Oh, yeah, it's a good pickup. I think a lot of flack, but I'm always a guy that played similar to Lindholm as opposed to
You're a
Kuzi.
two-way center?
Just a guy that can play in both ends of the ice. Like
Yeah.
I can score, but I've always been the guy that would rather have someone who wants to get in those corners,
Yeah.
and mark their defenseman, get to the hash marks and get a good breakout going, right?
Yeah,
like they
yeah,
always
yeah.
say, like small plays lead to big plays in hockey. And,
Yeah.
no disrespect to Kuzi at all. He was just a square peg trying to fit into a circle, right? He just had his issues with talk and wasn't going to work out. It seems like he's happy in Calgary and didn't have to move too far, so it's a win-win for both teams, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What was when were you starting to be exposed to culture growing up?
Yeah, funny story. So I'll tell you. My cousin Johnny, which is like a brother. I met him when I was young. It's funny. I just got a bunch of baby photos from my dad, and there's one from when we were like young. I was probably like 3. I was wearing a Canucks jersey. I'll show you after.
Yeah.
And we're at my parents' old coffee shop that they used to have. And then that's when we first became friends in like preschool. A few years go by, and then I like grew up in the rec center in Squamish because my mom worked there. She was the recreation manager, so I was like the kid that was at every program. Attendance was like 100%.
Right.
Which I'm grateful for because I got to play a lot of sports in that building.
Yeah.
Like whether it was basketball or soccer, hockey, lacrosse even. And so I'd be going to the after school program after school every day. And yeah, just one day Johnny was like, hey, like, you want to play more hockey or soccer? I was like, yeah. He's like, you should stay to dance practice. Like, it's right after, and all you have to do is just dance a little bit, and then we can play more sports. And I was like, I'm sold. Let's do it. You know? So then I'm like, I had no idea. Like, this went on for like 2 years probably. That I just told my parents that I was going to stay for what I said was to play more hockey.
Yeah.
And she found out from my Chisha, Linda, that I had been in the dance group for 2 years and had been going to performances and stuff this whole time, and I kept it a secret from them. And I didn't even intentionally mean to do that. I just didn't think that I wasn't not telling the truth because we were playing sports. I just didn't tell them that
You're just withholding details.
Withholding details. So I didn't, and this is where I learned how to introduce myself.
Yeah.
And where I learned the songs and the origins of Squamish people and the origins of the songs that we danced to and the moves, and so that's how I got into it.
Yeah.
So little blurb on the dance group that I've been a part of since I think I was around 6 years old. So it's called Wealth Tima Kokwotsum, and it means culture bringing people together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the dance group that I've been in a part of my whole life. And so I started at a young age, around 6. Yeah.
So what does dance mean to you?
Oh man, so it's crazy because like even prior to being in the dance group and learning Salish style and Squamish style dancing, like I've just always been that kid to dance whenever I hear music. Funny enough, so like my parents tell me stories of like being like a little, like in diapers, they throw on Fleetwood Mac, like Dream starts playing, and it's like, here we go again. You say, we want, and I'd go crazy. And I'd be like in my diaper going crazy.
Yeah.
And then like I would always like steal my brother's like hip hop music when I was like 4.
Yeah.
And I'd like by myself like learn how to break dance and watch break dancing videos. So this is all leading up to joining the dance group. And then, I joined the dance group and I'm like going to performances. I like open for the Olympics. I go and perform with a Tribe Called Red at Squamish Fest. So
sick.
countless times that I've had opportunities to meet cool people, just through dance. And so it's definitely a huge part of my life. Yeah, I don't know. It's harder to put into words.
Yeah. Well,
But it means a lot. And the amount of people that I've met and the opportunities that I've had to get my name out there from it is just like, I'll be forever grateful for it.
do you know when dance was traditionally used back in the day?
Yeah, so it comes from Big House, like Smokehouse, right? So those are like the traditional dancers. Something I've never really gotten into just because just haven't had the opportunity to, and living in like a Western society now, it's more difficult to figure out the logistical side of it. It's something I do plan on doing maybe one day. Yeah, that would be like, and then I guess even going further back, like each family would have had a dance that they would have been doing, and it would have been based off of like which family animal they come from.
Yeah.
So one dance that I do that I take pride in, and it's funny because I was just at the march for the murdered missing Indigenous women, and we were singing the Takaya Slalom, which means the wolf song. Yeah. And every time I hear it, I instinctually want to start breaking down and doing the moves, and there's like, that's like the family that I come from. Yeah. And quickly when I was young, Johnny used to wear the mask when I first started. And then eventually the mask stopped fitting him. His head got too big. So then I started wearing it, and then my head just naturally fit the mask. It still does to this day. And I quickly took over the lead of that dance. So that's one that I take pride in for sure. And the other one would be like, because I grew up on Eagle Run, it's called the Eagle Capital of the world for winter. I love the Skszwx slalom, which is, there's two versions of it. I like doing the male version. It's like you do a bunch of jumping around and spins, and it's tiring, but it's definitely fun and impressive to do. And yeah, so those are two dances that I definitely take pride in for sure, and I've been leading since I was like young.
Yeah. I think I saw a video where I'm curious about this, but do you dance with your Salish regalia at like powwow gatherings or
Dude, hilarious. So I was living down here when I met you. Yeah. And so I was going to school. I was like, all right, like I had to shout out to my old friend Kappa, who moved away. She grew up in Squamish with us, and her family is from Akwesasne. They're Mohawk. And when I was young, they were doing powwow practices. So fast forward a bunch. I was going to those practices. My bro Dakota was dancing grass at the time, and he was living in Squamish with his auntie Mo. So he would convince me. I would already be at the rec center anyways, so I just would stay. And then, so during the pandemic, she was going to school in UBC, and we're hanging out a bunch, and there was no powwows going on, but she like really wanted to bring me to a powwow, because I'd seen her dance at the Hamalchison powwow before and at the Squamish powwow when I was at the Totem Hall. She's a jingle dress dancer, like contemporary, has the fan, nice, the cones, the healing dance. But we just never had the opportunity to go to one. And then she ended up moving back to Ontario because it was just so expensive here. And so I just never had the opportunity to go. So then fast forward 3 years, living down here. And I was like, dude, like, I want to get back into dancing. Like, I hadn't done it for like a long time because I was doing so much training, right? Consumes my life like anything. If I want to get good at it, I just... It's
I'm
just
like
how
that too.
Just how I work.
You're a 100 or a 0.
I was always told, if never half-ass anything.
Yeah.
And I take that into everything, whether it be like culture or partying or training. It's always like 100% now. Anyways, I messaged Kanani Nahaney, your probably auntie, and I was like, hey, like I wanna get into powwow dancing. Like I knew that she made regalia. This is like my bro Sheldon's mom. Yeah. And Sheldon's like half Squamish, half Navajo. He danced when he was young. So I messaged his mom. I said, are you able to make me an outfit? And at the time she was grieving, and she wasn't taking any work, or she was just doing her healing stuff. She said, sorry, like I'm not doing any orders, and I probably won't be for the next little while, but I can make a post on Facebook if you need, and we'll see what comes of it. If anyone wants to make you an outfit, I'm like, cool, sounds good. Like, let's do it. Like, I want to get into this. I just like had no idea what to do to get into power dancing. I just would reach out to the people that I thought would help me out. And this lady, Cynthia, messages me, and she's like, hey, I have an outfit. It might fit you. It might be a little bit big. She's like, the pants will probably be big, but the rest of it will be good. And I'm like, all right, like, let's take a look at it. Like, I'm not going to turn it down. It's better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So then she showed up to my house like an hour later, and I was just living on the other side of Cap at the time with my auntie, Paula. And she shows up. She's like, here, like, take a look. I like try on the shirt. The shirt fits. Try the apron. It's like a little bit big, but it's not like it's unmanageable. The cuffs like slide up and down my arm a bit, and then it turns out to be like medicine wheel colors with those Squamish like Salish style symbols on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. I was like, all right, cool. I didn't wear it for the longest time because I was like not self-conscious, but I hadn't gotten into it yet. But I had the outfit. So then when I moved back after I finished school and started working, Kanani started doing practices at the Totem Hall. So I went to those. And I went to those, told her I had the outfit, and she's like, you should go to family night in East Van. And I was like, all right, sounds good. Like, so that's how I got that outfit, was from Cynthia, who reached out to me on Facebook from the post that Kanani made. And it turned out to be medicine wheel colors with Salish symbols on it, which is super ironic because it's like everywhere that I go, then every time I've worn it at powwows, everyone always says to me, they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm Squamish. Like, I'm Salish, I'm Shimshan, I'm Salish, Gwich'in. They're like, I can tell. And it's funny because my friend Larissa says, just 2 weeks ago, so I just got my new headband, and I've had the roach for a while that I have. I just haven't had anything to wear it with. So I was just kind of keeping it in the back storage. She's like, dude, only you can rock that outfit. I swear. She's like, no one else can pull it off like you do. Because I have like my deer hooves. I have my woven leggings. It was just, I guess, another moment of where it was meant to be that outfit came into my hands. So
It
never didn't plan anything it out. Like, didn't even know what I wanted. And then turns out that it's like going to be Coast Salish colors, right?
Yeah.
So interesting how life works sometimes.
Man, I can feel how passionate you are about, I feel like, representing these lands. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say, yeah?
For sure, dude.
I feel like, what does it mean to you to be from these lands?
Oh man, we live in the most beautiful part of the world. And, it's crazy to think that this is like back in the day, many, many years ago, that this is like where the ancestors pulled up to and were like, this is going to be home.
Yeah.
They chose the best spot in the world. And it's funny because I talked to my bro Johnny about this, and he's like, there's only like one comparative culture, religion, country out there that's very similar to Squamish people, and it's Greek people. They just settled here. They don't want to be anywhere else in the world. Like, they settled the Mediterranean, we settled in the Salish Sea, and we called these our homelands. Many people had come and tried to take it from us, and we never budged.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting comparison there.
Yeah, same thing, right?
Yeah.
We live right in the middle of the North Coast, the West Coast,
Mm.
on the Salish Sea.
Yeah.
We never budged. We didn't want anywhere else either. So I think that comes with the big and the appreciation I have for it, and the big amount of pride that I have to be from the Squamish Valley in North Vancouver, Hamalchison, CHM, Squamish Oath, right?
Yeah.
Like, when I say Squamish Oath, that means I am Squamish.
Yeah.
So that's where that pride comes from, for sure.
Heck yeah, bro.
Yeah.
So what, I love these lands. Probably, like, I grew up here my whole entire life, and I didn't even, when you grow up here and I just didn't really recognize how lucky I was until you start going traveling around. Like, holy shit, like, I would do anything to be back home right now, So what are some of the experiences that you've had on the land here that you would recommend for other people to try?
Oh man, where do you start? Like, it's funny because, like, I've had a lot of experience in the last, say, 10 or so years in the outdoors, in the Sea to Sky, House Sound region, from Pemberton, North Pemberton, from Joffrey Lakes to here, right? And there's a few that come to mind. There's like the House Sound Crest Trail is really cool.
Yeah.
So I got to, it's frustrating to talk about because I got stumped twice this year trying to hike the Sisters, the two lines.
How come?
In Squamish, we call them the Sisters. First time, it's like early spring. Me, Joey B, and Diggy, some bros that I train with, Jiu Jitsu. Joe lives in Lions Bay, and Diggy's from the coast. And we're like, dude, like, let's go do... Because I told Brendan about the story, why we call them the Sisters.
Yeah.
He's like, let's go hike the Sisters. I'm like, let's do it. Like, let's do it. I'm down. Like, you don't have to convince me. Like, you want to go on an adventure for 14 hours in the bush? Like, I'm not even going to second guess it. I'll go.
Yeah.
Joe's first time freaking hiking more than 2 hours. So we get up to... It was a great group, dude. It was a great... And I'm dragging these guys up the mountain. We go from Lions Bay. So you can go from Cypress or you can go from Lions Bay.
Yeah, yeah.
And...
Which one's shorter? The Lions Bay one?
It's shorter, but it's
hot. It's straight up. Yeah.
It's like Stairmaster 1000
Yeah.
for 4 hours straight. You know?
Yeah.
And like it was so much fun though, dude. It's a sufferfest. Like,
yeah.
That's the only way I can put it. So we get up to like we're almost in the subalpine out of the trees. We get to like the first lookout and we're like, oh, dude, it's so sick. You can see the island. You see the coast. You see Andal Island. You see, you know, you're starting to get up there. We get to the tree line and there's like 4 feet of snow still. And I'm like, and I'm determined, dude. I'm like, we're like, I want to see some view. Like, I'm not going to hike for 9 hours to turn around for nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like punching my shoes into the snow. We have no gear, no ropes. Like just our food and bags and water and our running shoes on.
Yeah.
And Joe, as soon as he saw the snow, started to panic. He never experienced anything like this before. And like, he's like, Diggy's in between me and him. So I'm like 20 feet above them. Joe's like 40 feet below me. Brendan's in the middle. And I'm just like dragging these guys up. I'm like, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
Just take it slow. Punch your feet in the snow. We'll make it up. Turns out Joe's not happy at all the first time we go. And he's not moving. And like, I'm trying to convince Joe to get moving. Diggy's trying to talk me out of going any further.
Yeah.
And as soon as you have an argument like that out there, I was always told, group consensus. If there's disagreements, just pack your bags, turn around, and go again another day.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. We'll go again another time.
Yeah.
I was like, Joe, I'm sorry, buddy. I love you, but you're not coming next time, dude. I don't care. Just get me down. And I'm like, all right, dude.
How many breaks did Joe take on the way up?
Not too many. Like 3 or 4. Like we all like, and when we got to the snow, probably like a lot.
Yeah.
But prior to that, he was keeping up. But as soon as he saw, as soon as he felt, I think what it was is we got up. And we could feel the cold breeze rolling over and coming down onto us. And I had no tarp on and like just my little trail running pack and shorts. And like, I think the cold breeze is what set him off a little bit. And it didn't break him. He could have gotten up there if he wanted to, but it was just a new experience for him. And I don't blame him because like, I'm not going to say that I'm not crazy, right?
I've had some rough times with snow myself.
Yeah. I'm not going to say I'm not crazy when it comes to that kind of stuff. I love adventure. So then
I'm glad I wasn't there because I would have been up there with you.
Second time we go with our coworker, Hope, same thing. She's never hiked before. This time, I knew we would be a bit better because the snow line had risen to like probably, I think, Lions Bay. Sorry, 2 lines, 2 sisters. It's like 1,700 meters, and the snow line was like 1,400.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, like we got a chance today.
Yeah.
But Hope is like not in awesome shape. Like 10 minutes in, she's like breathing hard and stuff. Love you, Hope. Not disrespecting you at all, but just under
the hike is
the
challenging.
challenge, dude.
The hike is the hardest
It's not
thing
easy,
ever.
bro. It's not easy. So then same thing, we get up to the snow line, and then this time it's funny because I'm with Brendan again, and Brendan's like, as soon as we get past where we were into the subalpine, he sees the top and he just goes. Yeah. He leaves me in Hope, and Hope's like, I can tell Hope didn't want to go any further than where we're at. It's like cloudy, foggy, we can't see anything. Yeah. And Brendan's like adamant that if we get to the top, we're gonna break through to an awesome view. That's what was driving him. I'll never forget this dude. It's so funny. He's like, we get to the subalpine. I see him like probably 100 meters above where me and Hope are chilling, and we got cold. We stood around for so long, we got cold. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I'll go grab him. Like, stay here, be safe, don't do anything crazy. I was like, here's my sweater. I give her my sweater. She puts it on. I'm like, Diggy, bro. And I can see his eyes. I see his eyes like 90 meters above where he's at, and he's just staring at me. And he knows, And he's like, man. He just keeps saying that. I'm like, dude, you did this to me last time. Yeah. I have to do it to you this time. We're not gonna have any issues today. I was like, yeah. Third time's a charm. I promise, dude. He's really mad because he sees the top. He's in between the top and where we're at, and we're like shouting. And I was like, "We gotta go." Hope doesn't want to go any further. So, sorry, buddy, but we're not gonna leave you, and you're not gonna go up there alone. So we pack it up, go back down. I feel bad for this because the third time I went with my old roommate and my cousin Ethan. Shouts out to Nick and Ethan for being there with me. We make the push that day. And it's like June, so all the snow's gone, pretty much. There's like spits of it everywhere. Yeah. And we made it to the top, dude. We made it 1,700 meters, 14K, straight up and down. Wow. It took a long day. We got to Lions Bay around, I think it was like 7:30 or 8. We left Squamish. We met up at 6. Wow. And we got home at 8.
What is the story about the two sisters?
Oh man, I don't know exactly, but there was 2 twin sisters that transformed into the mountain. And I can't remember the story exactly.
You don't have the story, yeah.
But fun fact for you, when I was told the story, I've heard it a few times, I just haven't heard it enough to memorize it. Yeah. Supposedly this region of the world, so the lower mainland, Squamish, it statistically has the most pairs of twins.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Statistically, it makes sense because when I grew up in Squamish, there's at least 5 or 6 pairs of twins that I know in Squamish alone, let alone however many are around the lower mainland of Vancouver. So that's the story. Anyways, I can't tell you.
It's probably because y'all had so much good food here, Yeah. Could support it out.
Yeah, split that atom.
Yeah.
Split the egg. Yeah. But sorry, another one I'll have to go on about the stories. This summer I did another one. I hiked up to Lake Lovely Water in Squamish. So I went with my cousin Johnny, my bro. Shouts out Johnny Bob. If you're listening to this, Bobby, I love you. Kieran Brownie, coolest dude. Mountain cowboy.
Nice.
He's super cool, man. Like, really good photographer. Loves native heritage. I can really tell how special that is. So he's Dalek from Scotland.
Oh, cool.
But he grew up in Squamish. Like, he's his words, dirtbag climber from Squamish when I grew up. So he's been in Squamish since before the Olympics, the boom there. Yeah. And then Niall Hart, who went to high school with Johnny, who is he's Peruvian and Canadian, so he has PR in Peru, so he has a deep love for Indigenous culture as well.
Nice.
So we just one day they call me after work. They're like, Nolan, we're going for it. We're gonna paddle across the Squamish and we're gonna go to Lake Lovely Water. Do you want to come? It's like super last minute. I'm at home after work. It's like 4. I'm like, yep, let's do it. I like make a smoothie, pack my bag, get my hiking stuff together. And like we get across around 5 and the sun's already going down. And that one's similar where it's 8K to get to Lake Lovely Water.
Yeah.
And it's all vertical. There's not one section prior to being at the lake where it's flat.
Yeah.
And I have no headlamp. There's like 2 headlamps between us. I'm like, we're walking, dude. And there's like, I got stung or bit, whatever you want to call it, by those ground hornets that are migrating here because of the dry weather in the summer. They're like Japanese ground hornets.
Yeah.
They burrow in the ground. So like I got stung 4 times on the way up.
Yeah.
And allegedly I'm allergic to these things. I don't have my EpiPen. I'm just like, whatever. If I die up here, I wouldn't want to die anywhere else.
Yeah,
I'm like in the Tantalus range. But we're like suffering, dude. Like we started at 5 and we got to the lake at 10. Like 5 hours of vert. And I'll never forget because it was so dark. My eyes adjusted crazy enough. If you go in the wilderness for long enough, your eyes will adjust to the dark. And I'll never forget this moment though. Like Johnny's first like long hike. And he's got his headlamp on. Yeah. And we're all dying, dude. Like, I'm not going to say we all did good. We were all pretty dead. Yeah. But pushing still, like, making sure we're being productive as we could be without, like, being like, we should just turn around. And, like, I'll never forget Bobby. He walks up. He's like... and then he, like, just, like, lays down on, like, the side of the mountain. He's just, like... And he looks at me, he's like, and I was just like looking at him, and I was like, we're in it, bud. I was like, we're fucking in it. I was like, you ready? I was like, it's up there. I was like, we're going. And I'm tired too. I was like, I'm tired as well. We're doing it, bud.
You just have to push through.
And he's like, can't even speak. He's like, I've never been this tired. And so anyways, we get up. Coolest starlights I've ever seen up on the Tantalus range. Like, it's special up there, especially when it's a clear night. No wind, so quiet. It's crazy. It's indescribable. We fall asleep. We wake up the next day. We wake up. The lake, it looks like a mirror. The Tantalus is flipped. It looks like there's 2 skies above on each other.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. So we wake up early. Like, we get like 5 hours of sleep maybe. By the time we calmed down, 8, went to bed, it was like 1. Yeah. Like, we all smoked a bit of weed. And then I was like, as soon as I smoked, I was like,
that's it. Good night.
Good night, fellas. Yeah. Like, they had some scotch with them. I was like, let's save it for tomorrow. Like, we'll have more time to chill tomorrow. Yeah. Like, I was like, we're going to have a chill day tomorrow for sure. Well, sort of. So then we go up, we hike up to like where the first glacial lake is. We all jump in. Sorry, before that, we all jump into Lake Lovely Water. Ooh, it's fresh, dude. I don't call water cold. I call it fresh. Yeah. It's fresh as it can be. It's like crystal clear, amazing. So then we like pack up camp. We get hiking again. By the time we start moving, it's like 9. There's like a small section, probably like a kilometer along this creek. There's like berries. There's huckleberries, salmon berries, raspberries, blueberries, all along this stream. So like we're all just like munching the whole time. And then we get up to this lake, and it's like this glacial fed lake. It's like aqua blue. And there's like a small glacier right above it. And I'm like, oh, I was like, nice. I was so sore, dude. Yeah. And I was like, all right. Like we're taking lunch here. We like jump in. We're all swimming and stuff, and I found this like perfect spot where I could just sit up to my neck. Nice. And I just like did 5 minutes of just plunge, nose breathing, meditating, and Kieran got a sick photo of me while I was doing it. Actually, it's on my Instagram. So then we all go have lunch, and when we make our push to the top for Omega, that's like it's like the chill mountain. You can go up there with where you don't need to access it by rope or need any of that technical gear. You can just walk up there. Yeah. So then we spend before we get up there, there's like we stop at this little creek off like the top glacier. Yeah. It's like a freshwater stream. and there's like a perfect little pool at the bottom. So we take a nap there, alpine naps and cold plunges like all day. And then we push up to the top for Omega around 4. We get up there for sunset, and then we have dinner. We all take some mushrooms actually. And we started drinking, dude, and it was awesome, man. It was a great time. I got many good photos from that trip for sure. And then we stayed on the top. Well, we didn't stay at like the very top. We could have.
Yeah.
We're like right next to it, but we're all pretty exhausted, and we started getting fucked up.
Yeah.
So then I was like, we should probably just chill. And like, they really wanted to, but me and Niall were both on the same consensus. Like, let's just chill here.
Yeah.
That's also like 1,700 meters. It's crazy though, because when you're up there, like, you can't see the town of Squamish. You don't see the highway. You don't even see the ocean.
Yeah.
It's just like an ocean of rolling mountains. It's like you see the sky. The Chief looks small from up there, dude.
Yeah.
Like it looks.
I've never even heard of this place, to be honest.
It's
with you.
puny. It's in the Tantalus range.
Yeah.
There's like 7 or 8 consecutive peaks that all connect to each other. My crazy friend James, shouts out James Campbell. If you're listening to this, hope your travels are going well, buddy. As my old coworker, he's crazy climber, like crazy. He's done the whole thing, and he said 22 hours straight, no sleep, a bag, and a partner. That's it.
What?
Pushed it. Yeah, he's crazy.
Every peak.
Every peak.
Holy
22 hours. He said he started at 2 a.m. and he finished at midnight.
Well, I know that part of your professional career has been you've done some environmental work before.
Mm-hmm.
What's the story behind that, and what about any of that work surprised you or anything like that?
Yeah, dude. Great question. It's funny because I sometimes honestly forget that I'd spent probably half a master's degree of doing citizen scientist work along the Gwich'in, which means the house sound in Squamish. Yeah, so I started just because my auntie Devin, she was doing HR work for the nation, and they were looking for 2 candidates that were passionate about the outdoors. And at the time, I just graduated from the private school that I was going to, and well, sort of. It was like I'd spent a year doing kind of construction work, and I was like super into mountaineering and ski touring, all the backcountry stuff, and did that for like a year, hiking, whatnot.
Yeah.
It all comes from the school that I went to, though. It's called Coast Mountain Academy, and they had a mandatory outdoor ed program. So that's where I got to experience a lot of this knowledge that I got to pick up, like backcountry, living out of a bag for multiple days.
Yeah.
Freaking having 2 pairs of clothes, swimming in bodies of water when you can, drinking fresh water when you can, whatnot.
Yeah.
So I got, she told me and Johnny to apply for the position because they were looking for 2 Indigenous youth coordinators, which was basically like they just wanted us to start some initiatives, get youth back onto the land, being stewards. So it was called like a stewardship.
Yeah.
The program at the time was called the Marine Stewardship Initiative. Shouts out Fiona. I was just messaging her today. If you're listening to this, love you. She was the project coordinator at the time, so we were helping out with her master's degree. So that's how she got all the funding for it.
Gotcha.
So we applied, and we just did a bunch of initiatives, basically. So a few of them would be, we paddled from Squamish to Squamish. So Squamish is the reserve that's by the totem hall by the chief.
Yeah.
It's right on the waterfront. It's like the only res in Squamish that has ocean access.
Yeah.
It's one of the oldest villages in Squamish land. So we paddled from there to Squamish to do a shoreline cleanup. Shoreline cleanup, or was it just for the day? I can't remember. It was so long ago. But we paddled. So we paddled along the windy house sound, middle of the day, and come to find out after we do all this studies, like our people never paddled during the day. They paddled at night and the morning when there's no wind, because if you've been to Squamish, you would know that it's a very windy place. It's actually the windiest place one of the windiest places in the world. And the translation for Squamish is actually mother wind. And so at high noon every day, the wind picks up. That's why it is the most popular place for windsurfing in the world, because it has wind probably 360 days of the year. So we're paddling from Squamish all the way to Quam. Quam is Defense Island, which is like a really historical old village.
Yeah.
It's where all the warriors would have stayed and protected, because it's one of like the more narrow points where if enemies were to come through the House Sound to try and invade us, they could beat them out there, beat them up, and then go back.
I've always wanted to know why it was called that.
That's why.
That makes sense.
So, and they have like multiple views of where they could have come from.
No, it makes total sense actually.
So we paddled there, and then that was one of the initiatives. And then the next time once we figured out we could do that, that was with like kind of like a more experienced group, I guess.
Yeah.
There was more people that would have paddled. So then we're like, dude, let's do one where we paddle from Portal Cove to Defense Island, and we'll go camping for a couple days.
Couple of questions here. Where are the boats coming from? Renting them?
Okay, yeah, great question. So it's like nation boats, dude. It's like outgoing, like they're not carved out, dug out canoes.
Yeah.
But we got the one boat from the education department in Squamish. So for my Auntie Joy, it's like a plastic fiberglass one, fake one. That's what Native people call it, a fake canoe. So we got the canoe. It's not, no disrespect to anyone that rocks the Clippers or anything. Shouts out to Mike Billy for telling me that story. Actually, he's funny to go off on a little tangent there. My bro Mike, who I play hockey with up north, he's Squamish. So he got asked to be on like the BC Aboriginal canoe pulling team, and so funny. I laughed so hard when he told me this. So like they because he's like master canoe puller, carver, makes paddles, makes canoes. So him and his girl Nirvana, they're like very avid paddlers. Like they call themselves paddlers. That's all they do in the summertime. So they got asked to be a tandem for the NAG.
Yeah.
And he's like, and it's back east though. It's back in somewhere along one of the Great Lakes. And they're like, we really want you to come out. Like you would be like number one. He's like, yeah, sure, I'm interested. He's like, one question, like, how am I gonna get my canoe out there? Like he wants to use his own canoe, obviously. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, you wouldn't. You'd be using the Clippers. So he's just like,
and he's riding,
and he's like, no thanks, I'm good. And he just turns them down. He never called them again. And then I was laughing so hard, and I was like, you don't like the Clippers, bro? He's like, nah, man, the Clippers. He's like, that fake garbage. Like,
so did he carve his own? He carves his own canoes.
Yeah, dude, that's what his family's done since time immemorial.
That is so freaking sick.
So his dad and him, they run the North Van Canoe Club, NVCC, where they are just based out of Seymour down the road.
Yeah. We should get him on the pod.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I can link you up with many people, man.
Let's hit it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think you were talking about Defense Island.
Yeah. So then we planned one from Portal Cove to Defense Island.
What's the traditional name for Defense Island again? Say it again.
Quam.
Quam?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's like, they're like, all right, like, shouts out to Jason, if I can remember everyone in the boat. Because I skipped it. I've never skipped a boat in my life. So I'm steering this thing.
Oh, really?
My first time, like, in, like, a kind of a bigger canoe with more than 3 people in it that I'm skipping. So it's like me, Johnny, my bro, Jason.
These are ocean canoes, too, by the way.
Ocean canoes.
Everybody.
Like, it's windy.
Yeah.
We picked the not ideal day to go on. It's white capped that day. So it's like.
Oh, gosh. How big are the swells?
So much fun, dude. It's like 3 feet. 4 feet, pretty decent.
Did anyone get sick?
No.
Cleared it.
Yeah, Bronson was there. Teresa. A few others I can't name off the top of my head. I have photos from it, but
yeah.
We get the support boat. We get so funny, dude. So like we struggled to find paddles like last minute. We forgot to find enough paddles. Okay. We had like 5. but we needed 3 more. So like we went to the youth center and like snagged a couple freaking stand-up paddles, like the long ones.
Yeah.
So there's like people in the canoe using the stand-up paddles, like so ragtag res style, you know? And like we're like, whatever, dude, like we're gonna make do. Like we're all here. Everyone pulls up that day. We get the boat from the nation down here.
Yeah.
The support boat. And they loved it. They thought it was awesome that we're doing it. But it was just, we didn't think to check the elements.
Yeah.
Learning experience. Anyways, we go. And like my first time skipping, so the boat's like I can't keep this thing in a straight line for the life of me. And the swells pushing us around, and we're going like and there was a moment where I could feel everyone's panic, and I knew if I panicked, we'd be doomed. So I just like, and it's not my first time being in turbulent waters like this.
Yeah.
I have a story for you. I have the book here.
Yeah.
I have a story from a trip that I went on with my school where I got to paddle another river. Anyways, so it's not my first time experiencing like kind of like the doubt on a boat.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, just play it cool, poker face. So I'm like, stick my paddle in the water.
Yeah.
And I don't move it. I just keep this thing straight. As soon as we started going straight, I could feel the ease of everyone's like anxieties and fears come down. And then we had already sent a bunch of people over on the boat that didn't want to paddle across to Squamish. So they were just waiting for us to arrive. And as soon as I got this thing steering straight, it was probably like 20 minutes that we were going zigzagging. I get this thing straight, and I can feel everyone like easing off of the tension. And I'm like, okay, cool, we're good.
Yeah.
Like we got through the thickness of this hairiness, and we're on to the other side now. And we get over there. I'll never forget this actually though, because Maurice, this guy that was friends with my parents, we invited him. He's from Manitoba, so he's lived in Squamish for a long time. And he actually said some awesome stuff to us that day once we got across. He got really emotional, and I'll never forget how proud he was of just being able to experience the day.
Yeah.
Just because he's known me since I was like a little boy. And he was just like, you know, like, not to quote word for word, but for the gist of it, he got emotional even before he started speaking. And he was like, the opportunities that you guys have to practice your culture and be prideful Indigenous people. He's like, I've known some of you guys since you were yay high, and to see you guys grow up to become these awesome men. He's like, there's nothing else I would want in this life. And he's like, I really wish I would have had these opportunities back home, but I didn't. And he started talking about his experience with racism and because he's kind of fair-skinned. Anyways,
is he Métis? What is he?
I think he's Métis or Cree.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah, probably.
One of the two. But yeah, it was just crazy to see how emotional he got and how much that day meant to him. And that's something I'll never forget, doing that kind of work.
You know, our main listeners of this podcast are people who are looking to connect with their culture again.
Yeah, so I hope you guys can take something away from this.
Well, what I like about this episode that's happening right now is that, you know, man, like, how do I put this? I think that Squamish people, because there's so many people here in Vancouver that like it can be like it gets a little overshadowed sometimes. Whereas when you're in Manitoba and Winnipeg and you're seeing people like, yeah, go for it, bro, whatever. And when you're seeing people like I don't know, just the dynamic here is different because it's so populated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. My dad describes it best. He's like, Vancouver's a mixing pot.
Yeah.
It's a mixing pot of all cultures, whether you're Punjabi or Asian, Caucasian, African Canadian, Indigenous, Métis, French. We have it all here. Italian, Arabic. It's a mixing pot, actually. And I was just talking to my friend Penny about this because I was like, it's funny because like nowadays, because of my involvement of being in the Powwow circle so much, I'm meeting so many people from Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Kansas, South Dakota, like all these places like far away from here that they call Vancouver home, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely do think that it's an interesting dynamic.
What would you want? What would you want as a person that's from here, like non-Indigenous people, to know about this place?
Just how deeply rooted we are with the lands here, and how you might only just see like, you know, the songs or some words around or words on signs at the sea bus, on the highway signs or whatever, but it's our connection to the land and everything on it is much, much deeper that you may not understand. And that's okay if you don't understand, but as long as you do your best to learn about the people who have been here since time immemorial and the reasons why we're so proud of where we come from. That's all we could ever ask for, right?
Yeah, totally. What oh crap. You know, you just have the bomb question and it just slips your mind right there, but
all the time.
I was going to say, what are you most proud of as an Indigenous man that's grown up in this modern world? I feel like you have a pretty good balance of like both like the settler colonial style and your traditional cultural style.
Yeah, dude, great question. I just did a gig on the weekend and my great uncle Gene was there, and he said some stuff because he closed out the
Gene what's that?
Gene Harry.
Yeah, Gene Harry. Yeah,
Gene Harry. That's my great uncle. So I got asked to dance for the Aboriginal Child Care Society on Saturday. They asked me to dance a few songs, and I always say yes. But he closed the ceremony out. He was speaking Hulkamanum, and he said that it brings him so much pride to know that there's youth today that get to experience both sides. Colonial Western society and their traditional side. And I could tell how much it meant to him because I got to lead a round dance, and I'll never forget because I was just in my zone, kind of like jamming out, doing my thing, and I looked up and I'm like right in front of him, and we locked eyes, but I had my headband on.
Yeah.
And my headband has like beads, whatever. I can't, just to distract me from making eye contact, but I looked at him, and I looked at him. As soon as I did, he went, "Woo!"
Yeah.
I could tell how much it meant to him seeing me being able to lead stuff like this.
He gave you a holler.
He gave me a war cry, dude.
Yeah.
Literally a war cry. And I think it's just interesting to have, I guess one thing I can say that I took away from it was definitely had its set of challenges growing up, with identity issues.
How so? Tell me about it.
Just getting shit from people all the time for being brown and, you know, practicing my culture and whatnot. As you probably may or may not know, it's like if you're an Indigenous listener at some point or not, you may or may not have experienced racism. If you didn't, that's great. If you did, congratulations, you grew up with some thick skin.
Yeah.
But especially for me, like I grew up in Squamish being like one of the only native hockey players. So I was getting shit from my own teammates. I was getting shit at school. I'd get shit from the other team. And if there's one thing that I can say that always made me so happy was to go and score a goal.
Yeah.
And just for that one moment, be able to give it back to them.
Yeah.
Because I never went and looked for it. I knew if I went and looked for it, it'd find me. Yeah. No doubt. But, you know, just being able to have thick skin and know that if people do try to hurt you with their words or actions or their intentions, just knowing that you come from strong people and that you can have your sets of frustrations, but that you'll always have your ancestors behind you wherever you go.
Yeah, totally.
And you can always lean on them for strength.
Absolutely. You know, the ancestors here, I think, are very, very old ancestors, you know, like,
Definitely.
Like 100%. And one of the things that you just said that struck me is the example of the hockey. You know, I think that's the perfect example of what we need to do and what we're doing is we'll just outperform. You know, we don't have to brag about anything.
I was like, we can lose.
Yeah,
we can lose a hockey game. That's fine.
Yeah.
If I score a goal, I'm winning. Dude.
Yeah.
I'm winning because I know they're all gonna go talk shit about me if I score a nice one, especially. And there's nothing better than being able to rub it in their face for that 1 second because I know how much it bothers them to see me succeed.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that makes me more happy to know that it takes so little to set them off.
Yeah.
Whereas they throw everything at me, the kitchen counter table. They won't break me, though.
Yeah. You know, I have a good story about this. When I was in probably Bantam, I think, super wide passing, obviously, nobody knew a thing in the dressing room. But when we went to Chilliwack, you know, that's when the Mission Boys got their racism activated and they got all heated up. And, you know, I try to, you know.
I know what it's like to play against you boys. Yeah.
Not many people in, I would say not many people in hockey understand anything about Indigenous anything, to be honest with you.
No, it's a white person sport.
Yeah, totally. But I tried to calm the boys down, but if you've ever played hockey, you know that the guy in the dressing room that's laying down the rules when no A or C on their shirt or anything like that, they'll probably get chirped a little bit too, you know what I mean? So that's what I took for that. But the best part is that when we went out on the ice that game, man, the freaking I think one of them said something one racist and they just happen to have an all native line, man, and they just cream the fuck out of this kid, dude.
You got what you deserve, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry, not sorry, bro.
But that's what I do love about sports, you know, I know that you played lacrosse too. Lacrosse is super important to me. What I found, to me, playing lacrosse is more than playing lacrosse, is playing creator's game.
It's a medicine game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's we have an outlet for us as I would say Indigenous men to be able to express ourselves physically, and I think that that's a good thing. I always say, I'm curious to know what you think about this, but I have a vision where there's a black belt on every single reserve.
Yeah, dude. Me too, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. When I first started training
Jiu Jitsu, we're talking about, by the way.
Shouts out to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah, Jiu Jitsu.
Jiu Jitsu. Changed my life, man. And if there are a few things that I could do if I had all the money in the world,
yeah,
it would definitely be able to have the means to go to these remote communities and have good teachers to go and teach these kids how to harness that.
Yeah.
Whether it be frustrations or traumas or difficulties in their time from growing up in segregation, to be able to go and perform in a sport that is so individual, especially because it's true and not true, because jiu-jitsu is a one-person sport. You're showing up for yourself, but you wouldn't be able to get better if you just trained on a dummy or watched videos. If that was the case, everyone could become a black belt after watching 10,000 hours of jiu-jitsu videos. But being able to give these remote communities the resources and access to have good training, good facility would be a dream of mine.
What, pretend you have all the money in the world. What projects are you starting tomorrow?
There's a couple, like I just mentioned, the jiu-jitsu thing.
Jiu-jitsu for sure. I'm half partner into the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. We'll talk more about it. There's one community that I think would be a great outlet for it, and it'd be over in House It in Tofino.
Yeah.
Just because their reserve there is really isolated, and there's a lot of dysfunction, and just being able to have the opportunity to give them free training and an outlet, just make it here to this spot, 6 p.m. every day for free. That would be awesome. But there's another one that that's been on my mind a lot, actually, since I've been doing so much dancing, and a lot of the times it comes up, people always ask me whose agency are you with? I'm like, agency? I just do this for myself. My agency is Nolan Rudkowsky.
Are there agencies for Indigenous
There
dancers?
there are. So there's one that's called Indigenous Enterprise. Kenneth is the one that runs it. He has a few team members. Ecosia, Red Elk. She's from Oregon. They're all champion dancers, so they're fancy, grass, jingle, whatever style they are. They handpick the best. So I want to be able to start something like that here that's similar, but sort of different. Like find a space where I can get all these creatives that I've met along the way of Powwow Circle. So like have like shouts out to Matt Provost and Pavel Desjardins.
Yeah.
Shouts out, by the way, guys, go listen to Two Singers, One Drum. That's their podcast.
Totally.
Love
those guys.
Yeah, love them. Fuck, it's so cool. Have a space where a studio essentially where we could all collaborate and make regalia and be creative and do art and sing and dance and like work on our craft to make it a profession in Western world society. So like having like a safe space where we could all collaborate and bounce ideas off and learn from one another.
Is that the hardest part, is like spacing, like infrastructure to get this stuff rolling?
Well, that's what people always struggle with, right? Like not to throw you guys under the bus, but you can always use more space, right?
Yeah.
Like how much nicer would it be to have like a building or a room to do a podcast in as opposed to a little room.
Yeah.
More space is always nice. So like I envision this thing being like pretty big and just having a collaborative space where creatives and artists and dancers, performers, whether you dance powwow, whether you dance Salish, whether you make regalia or sing or do fashion, just having a space where we could all collaborate and make each other better would be awesome.
Anything else?
And then I have so many ideas that I want to pursue, right? But
Pitch them. This is the spot to pitch them. Because
those two are definitely like the most for sure. One is just based off my passion for dancing, and the other would be like my love for martial arts as well, just because of how much it's given me and all the cool people I've met, like yourself.
Thanks, bro.
Wouldn't have met you if I never wanted to go and scrap you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, that's how you get to know people, man. Some of my best friends are from that. From that.
For
gym,
sure.
dude.
And just being able to give the opportunity to some people out there that are maybe like me or maybe aren't like me and don't even know that they need these things in their life, you know? So just being able to spread that love back. And there's one thing I always say about both those things that I've been getting into in the last 4 years. It's given me so much in such a short amount of time. And I'd love to be able to give it back. So
what are some of your gifts?
Oh man, that's a great question. Sometimes I'm really like anyone. I'm probably like my own biggest critique. Like I'm hardest on myself always. But I think, like just my ability to have conversations with people, regardless if I've spoken to you or not, is definitely an attribute that I like have come to realize is something that I'm actually good at. And it's weird because like for the longest time I'm always like I don't know how to meet people, like I don't know how to be myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it came from. I guess maybe it's from all the training, maybe it's from getting in shape, maybe it's from taking to my culture so pridefully, a combination of the three maybe.
Yeah, it's probably all of them.
But just like being charismatic and having conversations and being able to hold conversations and ask people questions and get to know people. Just because I guess it goes back to like being like, there was a point in my life where I was frightened to go and talk to strangers. And so there's that. I'd say also like my discipline. I'm not going to say I'm the most disciplined person in the world, especially when it comes to say academics. Never been an academic in my life, but I've always been the kid to be at all the practices and be at all the dances and be there for my friends even. So like definitely exercising regardless of what that looks like is a strength of mine. And And then third, that comes to mind as well, is just my ability to be forgiving of myself if I've ever made a mistake, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of people out there, and maybe I'll just go on a tangent. It's like being forgiving to yourself if you've made a mistake is huge, because so many people are so hard on themselves, myself included. You know, you make a mistake. I grew up in a house where if you made a mistake, it would be hell. You know what I mean? So I was frightened. I thought it was like a punishment if I messed up for like the longest time. And then I think becoming an adult and kind of going on all these endeavors with environmental work and construction and training, culture, just figuring out that, like, you know, making mistakes is a part of life, dude. And like, as long as you take a lesson from that mistake and move on and become a better person from it, and you forgive yourself, that's huge, dude. And that's like, that goes to like along the lines of like having no ego, because like, at least from what I took away from Jiu Jitsu, if you go onto the mats and you try to act like you know everything and you don't need to be taught anything, you will get smashed every single day until you surrender that. And the moment you surrender and open up that journey of learning, that's when special things happen.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's also a balance too, because some guys go to jiu-jitsu and you can also saunter at jiu-jitsu too if you don't put in your effort too at the same time, you know? And I love that balance though, but I love the balance of ego compared to, you know, skill set.
You need ego if you want to be a high level competitor.
Yeah.
You don't need an ego if you want to be a student.
I think, yeah, exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself, man. What do you want? Like, if you could tell me to go and work on something today to produce some type of outcome in the world, what would you ask me to do?
For like personal development?
No, just anything. Even for Indigenous people, what would you ask me to do?
That's a good question. This one probably might stump me for a little bit, but if there's anything that you could go out and learn or do that would be beneficial, would probably be just to go out and listen to people's stories, man. Honestly, because like at the end of the day, you don't know what people might be going through, and you can sort of get to know them more if you ask the right questions. You never know what people go home to, and I think that if you learn to be more open-minded and more gentle when it comes to approaching strangers, people you know, friends, I find humans are very quick to hide the things that are hard to talk about, myself included. It's something that I think as humanity, whether you're Indigenous or non-Indigenous, we can all work on. Is just to being more loving and gentle to one another. Yeah, you never know what people are going through at the end of the day. Regardless if they want to be going through that or not, you know?
Yeah, so, totally.
Yeah.
Let's see how long we've been going for. Do you need a break or anything?
No, I'm okay, dude. I can talk forever, man.
Well, we've already been going for an hour and a half, bro.
Okay, well, if you want to cut it off, we can cut it off.
No, we got time. I mean, there's only a few questions left, to be honest with you.
Well, let's crush them out. I'll try to make it quick.
No, take your time. Next 7 gens. What do you want? What do you want to make sure is preserved for the next 7 generations?
Oh man,
get that dance in there for sure, though.
Dancing, learning that footwork, learning the moves, but honestly, more important would probably be getting all the babies that are coming out of wherever you're from speaking their native tongue. I have dreams of being able to speak Squamish fluently, and it'd be a dream of mine to send my babies to school for them to learn English in the school system and have them speak English at home or Squamish at home with me.
Yeah.
That would be huge, because there's so many lessons that come with the language that don't translate into English, and it's hard to explain, but it's true. I think that would be awesome to be able to just speak the native tongue to your babies at home.
What's the language landscape looking around here?
Yeah, so there's the Squamish language program at SFU. Shouts out to all the bros working on that. They're starting a new cohort soon, so it's been something that I might jump at.
Nice.
Just need to figure out life stuff and when deadlines are, and simultaneously figure out work.
Yeah.
And paying bills. But yeah, they restructured the program, and I know that a lot of the people who have got to their first, second, third, and fourth year are pretty proficient Squamish language, and it wasn't that long ago where there was only 2 fluent speakers, and now there's over 20.
Cool.
So it's growing.
Let's go.
And a lot of them are within like the young adults, 20 to 30.
Yeah.
So that's where the landscape's at right now, and it's only going to continue growing. So I hope that one day everyone will have the opportunity to speak it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Let's go. Is there anything else you want to share? Is there any other stories that you had in the toolbox?
Yeah, dude. That's why I brought this book here. So I wanted to just tell you one moment where prayer, where I had to pray.
Yeah, tell me.
And it was going back to the that I paddled the Yukon River when I was in grade 12 for my grad year trip was to go paddle from Carmack's 1,100 kilometers. Carmack's, Dawson City.
Wow.
So we spent 2 weeks under the midnight sun. And so going back to the story I told you when it wasn't my first time being in turbulent waters, we spent the whole day in the up north in the Yukon. From the moment we woke up, it was tough and challenging because just the elements. It was raining sideways. We were paddling into the wind.
Yeah.
Group morale was at an all-time low.
Yeah.
You could feel there was no hope for that day to have a good day.
Have you ever read the book Conversations with Hatsalano?
No, I need to read that actually.
No? Okay, yeah. I read it.
I have
You have a copy?
but I have friends that have the copy that
Okay, cool.
I do want to take from.
Cool. The reason why I ask is because in that book, he talks a lot about like, he says something along the lines of like, to really get to know this territory, you have to do it in the boat or in the canoe, and that's what I've been like. I think for my summer this year, I'm gonna buy a canoe, and then paddle around the spot.
Yeah, dude, that's a great idea.
Because what if one day I have to return home to like Alberta or Winnipeg or something like that? I don't get to live here anymore.
Yeah,
and all I do here right now is just live inside and work all day. But I'm just waiting for the sun to like heat up.
We're all waiting for longer days.
Yeah, exactly. But please tell the story, man.
Dude, so the group morale was just shot.
Yeah.
And everyone was miserable. I didn't see anyone smile all day. And myself included. I was like, we need something here. I was the only native kid on the group. And like being Salish, there's always like a connection when you get to paddle. So like, dude, all of a sudden, just like they say when you're in the canoe, if you need strength, just listen. And then like the paddle song came on in my head, right? It was like, it just kept playing and playing. And I was like, damn, like they're right. I'm listening. It's there. I'm going to say a prayer. This is like the first time I vividly remember like asking ancestors for strength. So here's the story, dude. I wrote it down because we had to write down each and every night. And I said, before I write this prompt for all the teachers, I had the most awesome/spiritual experience. Just when I thought the weather was going to clear, it started to rain, like really rain, and the headwinds picked up. And I looked up to the sky in my conscious and said, so my Auntie Denise passed away a few years ago, and my Uncle Sean was a huge person in my life. He was like, bring me to hockey, bring me to lacrosse. He'd string my lacrosse sticks.
Yeah.
Total gear geek like me. We got along, and he always liked it because I was always the smallest out of all the boys, but I had like the most bite, and I like never backed down from anyone. So I was like, Auntie Denise and Uncle Sean, I just need a little bit of courage and strength to get through this paddle. And the most awesome thing happened. My entire thought about everything changed. I instantly went happy, and with every paddle and stroke, I would be thrilled. And to be doing this, and that's when it hit me, man. I got it. My people are there for me when I need them. All the teachings told me just to come back and make. It just made me and told me to just come back and made me realize that there is, and this is a part of me, and that I needed it I need it if all is well. It was the most resilient thing that I've ever had happen to me. Today was a great day that I will remember forever. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel when you were in the moment there, man?
Crazy. I started crying.
Really?
I started crying, and we were at the head of all the boats, and I remember as soon as I said the prayer, and I went happy. It was so cold, dude, and I was wearing Crocs, and like my whole body warmed up. I stood up in the boat, and I turned around, and I gave out like the loudest woo I could for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just like sent it out, and all of a sudden, we were so spread out. Every single boat like got on its horse and caught up to us.
Nice.
And then once we got to like our lunch spot, everyone was so cold, so I like made a fire for everyone, and everyone was so thankful that day.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, like you're a beast, man. And I was like, hey, that's not me, dude. Like,
yeah,
I asked for strength, just like the rest of us were probably thinking, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I realized that like if you're ever in doubt of your own capabilities and strengths as an Indigenous person, just know that your ancestors are always behind you.
Would you like to dedicate this podcast to anyone, my friend?
Oh, man, there's so many people I can shout out, but shouts out to my dad, my best friend, Nolan Rudkowsky. Love you, bud.
Shout out, Roland.
Don't know what I'd do without you.
Are you close to your dad? Sorry.
Yeah, we're close,
Yeah?
man. Yeah, we're like two peas in a pod. He's funny. He always tells me, he's like, I've watched a lot of good hockey players in my life. He's like, you're my favorite, man.
Oh.
Yeah. He's like, you're my favorite. He's like, you're the best, dude. I don't know how you do it. He's like, you scored so many goals in my life. He's like, you want to know how many goals I scored? He's like, 13. He's like, you scored 7 in one game.
Wow.
I was like, oh, shit. He's like, how many hat tricks do you think you scored? I'm like, too many to remember. Anyways, not about me. Shouts out to Johnny Bob, Johnny Williams, Charlene, and Jazz. Love you guys. Shouts out to all my sports coaches that have helped me along the way, even though I might have been a rambunctious little shit when I was young.
Yeah.
You guys stuck it out and made sure that I'd be okay. Shouts out to Dejan Kajic. Shouts out Dejan.
Let's go.
Shouts out to Cole Smith. Shouts out to Simon Baker, Joshua Watts, and shouts out to any of the youth out there that are listening that are taking anything away from this. So,
boom.
There we go.
I appreciate you coming on, man, and it's good to reconnect. And
thank you, bro.
Thank you for all the work that you do for the people here and everywhere. And every single time I see you dance on Instagram, I get fucking hyped up. So I'm with you. I appreciate
it, brother. Thank you very much.
No worries, dude. We're good to go, man.
Sweet.
You nailed that.
Thank you, bro.
Hi, my relatives. Thank you so much for watching and listening to today's podcast. If you enjoyed the episode or have any feedback, please leave a review. We're always trying to get better. Our goal is to make this as accessible to anybody who wants to listen to our content at any time. So if you have any feedback, please let us know. We're always trying to get better. Keenan Askerman, Nolan, I'm so grateful for you for coming on the podcast. I'm grateful for everyone that's listening, and I hope you all have a great week ahead of you. Love, Riel.